Right, and I do mean all right once you get to hear me because the mute I just took off. How you doing today, Sharon?
I'm doing great. As opposed to how we've been the last couple of weeks, I
Yeah.
think we are back to normal.
Wow. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell a little bit about why is it that you even said that we're back to normal? What was that all
Oh,
about?
for those of you who missed the last couple of weeks, one week we were down with COVID, and the next week, well, I was doing pretty good. Imar was still a little bit under the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but today we are both feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. Wow. Already I popped up and well, you get to see nice in red toxic relationships part
Ooh,
one. That's why it's in red because woo, when you deal with toxicity in a relationship, it could be really ugly. Again,
yes,
you listen to the
yes.
Taking the Journey show. Well, hopefully, get those who have listened to us before. Right now, go share it with your friends, share with your mate, share with your other folks,
The
even your enemies. Just share, share, share.
the ones you want to be your mates,
Exactly.
especially.
We got a good topic. It really is going to say ouch to us first
Mm-hmm.
with some of our own personal testimonies. And then, of course, it hopefully will help you at the same time say, ooh, let me try something a little bit different in a relationship. Because toxicity is definitely something that's strongly going on in relationships going on now. So, anyway,
Plus, it may be the answer that you've been looking for, thinking that, something is going on, but you're not quite sure what it is.
mhm.
And, just because the word toxic is used does not mean it's a lost cause.
No, no, and I think we don't want to scare anybody away, scar anyone away,
Don't
because
be scared.
you don't need to be scared. But one thing is for sure, you definitely need to look at the fact that toxicity is in a lot of our relationships, and we are not paying attention to it. But once we talk about it, and we're going to do it more than once, you'll get a forever
Mhm.
breakdown to
Yeah.
be made clearly what toxicity is in a relationship. And
I
toxicity is not only, in the relationship between the mates, but it comes from the outside too.
hmm Yeah.
Friends, relatives,
Neighbors.
neighbors can actually add to the toxicity in the
Even
relationship.
your workplace.
Exactly.
Workplace toxicity can come home to your relationship and
Hmm.
cause all kinds of issues there.
Exactly. So, Sharon, why don't you tell us, looking beautiful today with that
Oh, thank
lovely
you.
scarf on your head?
Thank you.
Can you tell us what our motto is, or vision is, or somebody said what our mission
Mission.
is?
We are going to relate.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what your mother, father, sister, brother, even Jesus, anybody says. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. We are going to relate. But at taking the journey together, we like to uh, instill in you the idea of relating in a balanced manner.
Mm-hmm.
And what we mean by a balanced manner is you start a relationship as a friendship
Mm-hmm.
and you build that relationship until you're ready for the commitment. And then you become in a committed relationship, a lovership with your friend. And when you want to take that to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
you are already in a friendship relationship. And friendship relationships, this is a sidebar, they have more than just the lovership.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the important pieces when the lovership is not there and you really need a friend. That's for those people who stay in marriages 9,000 years and stay
Mm-hmm.
in the same relationship for a long time. Things will change.
And when do they change?
They change all the time,
All
actually,
the time.
because relationships are not static,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yes, we want to make sure that you understand how to be in a balanced relationship.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Well, I think we should also try to push. It's a shameless plug, but I don't care. Uh, show us a shameless plug. Okay,
Yes, shameless plug. Oh,
mine is probably okay. Let me hold
yes.
on. Since you want to show it off that way,
Here's
go ahead.
here's our shameless plug. I usually have an extra one on
Or
hand
you could have used
that
mine.
I can.
You could use mine a little. You had to take it off.
No, there it
There's,
is.
okay.
That's it.
There's another one right there on that wire.
I
I
know.
took it off more
I
than
Yeah,
once.
I can take that off.
Yeah, I'll just take that off of there. Hey, and out there for those who don't know what hot means, Hot means what, Sharon?
Honest, open, and transparent.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're a hot person and you really are into being hot, or you want to, try to make someone think that what they know and what they believe and what they feel hot is, tell them, say, I'm a hot person, put that button on, and then tell them what the real acronym for hot is. And you'll find out to see if they're going to either run from you, or if they really think you're hot, they're going to stay
Yes.
connected to you and want to know a little bit more about you. Yeah,
The,
definitely.
the question is, do you want to be hot with me?
Exactly. Do you
Yes.
wanna? Do you wanna get hot with me? Do you wanna? Uh, uh.
And
Well,
so,
I guess the question for, I mean, it's answered because I'm still here.
yes,
Okay.
likewise. And the hot buttons
Hmm.
are only $5
Yep.
each, which if you are in a relationship that is hot, that is
Hmm.
getting hot, that needs to be hot,
Hmm.
you might want to get two of them. But the bottom line is the proceeds go to help support ATR, because without ATR, we would not be here.
Yes.
And so we're just,
Come on, folks. It's easy to do. Look at the bottom. Tells you where to get from,
yes,
and send us in. We need to put some money in the pocket of ATR. They do such a good job in supporting us, and at the same time supporting. And I know you guys out there are getting some good information that you're not going to get anymore, especially any not anymore, but any place,
and they have,
especially the kind of information where the rubber meets the road, and we kind of
exactly.
we kind of openly and honestly and
Hmm.
transparently put it out in the open, which will really
Yeah.
help your relationship from the standpoint that you're not going to hear any other place unless you want to go to a counselor and
Hmm.
psychologist,
Yes.
and then that's going to
Or
cost you.
coach.
Exactly. So we do
Yes.
this for you free. We do have life coaching and relationship coaching certificates, or not licensed right now. And so we, I guess we call it legit, if you may want to call it. So if you want to get a hold of us at the same time, this is where you get a hold of us, and we'll be glad to help you out on that particular matter.
Email us at ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com. It's
Hmm.
going across the board, the bottom.
Exactly. So if there are kind of goals in your life that you're trying to reach in a relationship, especially if it's a balanced relationship you want to move towards, or you're trying to expand your relationship more to make it more healthy, we can help you with those goals. And I would tell you right now, in a relationship, there's no such thing as perfect. It doesn't exist. It's all about balance. And you will be working on your relationship, especially if you want to
Every
move it
day.
to be healthy. It's a on the job training. It
Yes.
is. Excuse me. So we can
It's
help you out.
also job security.
Well, okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, job security is when there's always so much work to be done that you will never be out of work.
I want to retire sometimes. But I understand it. It should get better and better.
It
It
definitely
should get
should.
better and better
Yes,
from that
yes.
end.
No, but no one said
Mhm.
work should not be fun.
That's true.
You know,
That's true. Yeah, that's a good way to. I never thought about it.
yeah, just got to keep it alive.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so whoop. Always falls down. The mouse always falls
We've
down.
got to put something on here to catch it, a
Yeah,
mouse
well,
catcher or
exactly.
something.
His mouse is now just went out of
Yeah,
sync. No, don't do
you
that. Not
sure?
yet. Yeah, don't do that yet. So what we need to do is now talk about. Hold on, might do. Talk about the. Wow, it did. It's totally
That's
out.
that's what I've been working with all.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I had to.
Hold on for a second. I think I know what went on. Did you tell them what our model is to already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to buy time.
Yeah.
There it is. Ha
There.
ha.
We got it
Got
back.
that
Got
stupid
it
thing on
back.
there. Okay, so what our topic is, back topic is, we're starting. We got one person that got a like. So, hey, make sure you come on in. No stupid questions, no answers that we give are, absolutely beyond the shadow of the doubt. And, things we say are not necessarily something that this particular station and channel necessarily agrees with. These are all our experiences that we deal with in the past, present, and even right now. We know
Mhm.
some people will have in the future, and all we're doing is giving you the kind of information that hopefully that will help you out and help you expand your relationship. Someone was saying that, for our young folks, we need to teach them about money. We need to teach them about health. We need to teach them about politics. We need to teach them about how to work on things for yourself. And then someone put at the bottom, the last one, we need to teach them about relationships. I thought that was really sad, because actually the relationship should have been the first one,
Yes.
because when it comes to money, when it comes to health, when it comes to politics, when it comes to learn how to fix it, usually it's all connected to a what? Our
Relationship.
relationship. And
Yes.
so we know that with relationship being at the bottom of the pick that young people should learn,
That's a
you can
sad
see the results.
exactly.
Most young folks don't know nothing about dealing with relationships. Their parents and their examples don't do well with relationships.
Right.
I'm watching a show right now in Atlanta about stars just to learn how relationships are doing and a real goal in our X generation, our next generation. And these are stars who are rappers, of course, and some of them are ball players and comedians, and they're young, under between what, 20, maybe 30, something like that. They have so much drama. They have so much distress. They have so much toxicity in the relationship.
Hmm.
It's not even funny. And the one young lady that's doing the counseling, she looks like she is overwhelmed. She looks like she is like, how can I say it? Just flabbergasted, or whatever
Hmm.
that word is,
Hmm.
because you see her eyes are always open every time they come up with something that is like way over the top. And you could tell by watching that show that ain't no, what do you used to call those show?
Um, what did I call them? Scripted
You could
reality.
tell it's not. You could tell that since they have built their life on the stage where people are watching their life, and it's almost like they always feel that they
They have
are
to always be on.
beyond all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
You could tell that's what they play all
Wow.
the time at home. Anytime they leave, they are always playing like actors on the
Gotta have
stage,
the
and they
image.
don't even, exactly. So they probably don't know who
Yes.
they are, what they are.
Wow.
It's unbelievable the kind of mess and toxicity that you see, and that's that our generation coming. They have no idea of
Hmm.
how to relate in relationships,
Yeah.
and the way
Yeah.
they do is just out of hand.
And the sad thing about it is a lot of these relationships
Mm-hmm.
have been plastered all over, you know,
Mm-hmm.
TV, YouTube, Instagram, and all these places.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger people who are coming into that relationship stage,
Mm-hmm.
that's all they know,
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
and so they think of that as being the norm,
Don't they?
and that's what they will
Mm-hmm.
strive for.
Mm-hmm.
I hear students often talking
As a
about,
teacher at school, yeah.
yeah, often talking about, you know they want to do this and they want to do that, and I'm like, where in the world does that come from? Well, so and so did this, that, and the other. Well, who is that? And then come to find out it's some celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
you know some person who took their 15 seconds of fame
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to, and extended it out to 3 years, you
Exactly,
know.
exactly, exactly. And they're always talking about, when it comes to connecting to the relationship, they're always talking about, that's my wifey. I don't know,
Yeah.
like they call the husband, maybe the husband. I don't know, but they're always talking about. So as young as can be, they're already having attachments
Hmm.
that are not attachments, that are based on what they actually are made of, in the
Yeah.
substance that they have, which is not much experience in life of
Hmm.
themselves and any
Hmm.
things in life, but they make an attachment in such a way that it is a long term, that they have in their mind commitment, that they have no real experience to help them out in the long run,
Hmm.
period.
Right.
And they have no one really around them to even help them with it. So they just go by, like what you said,
Hmm.
what
Yeah.
society shows them,
Exactly.
whoever they feel their peers are, and they stumble and fumble and go that direction and figure, hey, it is what it is.
And the thing that really makes it even worse
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that so many of them have that same type of toxicity at home,
Mm-hmm.
and so it is a norm for them. And that's the sad part,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no balance. There's
Yes.
nobody saying, no, there's something wrong with that. Look how so and so. There are no examples that you can put out there that our young people can take a look at
Mm-hmm.
and see that there is an alternative.
Yes, exactly,
So
exactly.
and that's really not a good thing. And it's um what is the what's what it saddens me that
Mm-hmm.
after all of this time,
Mm-hmm.
um at one time, relationships, especially in our community, seemed to be improving. There were more families, parents working
Mm-hmm.
together, striving, working with children and whatnot. And now, after, say,
At least,
the night around the
and
90s,
at
it
least,
started going down
because
some.
we know the outside effect of some of the relationships, especially our diverse relationships, of
Mhm.
American relationships. We know our environment of racism, which is still here, affected that the relationships at home.
Mhm.
Okay, we
Yeah.
know that it wasn't a
That's
separation between the two,
exactly. That's the homegrown
and
toxicity that's
exactly.
there.
So, but still, they were trying to at least. On the job wise, try to be as healthy as possible,
Mhm.
or at least present that kind of image
Yes. Yes.
of trying to be healthy as a
Mhm.
family. Now today it's like, what's that?
Yeah.
Man, it don't even exist from that
Exactly.
particular what image of healthiness in a relationship is doesn't really exist in the images that are being shown. The examples that are being shown is
Mhm.
like I just gave you example watching that show. That is kind of like quasi like a counseling psychology show that you get to watch and get the
Mhm.
inside of what young folks feel
Yeah.
and in the superstar world, the world that are now is the images that they
Mhm.
role models are looking up to. They're just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, all over the place. The only thing that looks like that keeps them somewhat within boundaries is because that money
Yeah.
getting paid. Someone's, getting
Mhm.
money. Someone's buying that love. Someone's buying them to stay within those boundaries, even though they ain't really feeling the inside. But that money seems to keep that
Mhm.
thing going. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's sad too because I realize that I listen to what the kids talk about at
Mm-hmm.
school, and sometimes they don't know I'm listening, but I am. And you know, even things like sitting down to dinner
Mm-hmm.
as a family becomes one of those situations where
Who does that anymore?
that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Who does that?
that's the statement that when someone says, they have they sit down to a meal together
Mm-hmm.
as a family, everybody looks at them like, what kind of weird family are you in?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Who does that anymore?
As opposed to, there are some, but I think of it and I look at it like, when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of the norm. At a certain time, the call went out, y'all come in for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And if one went in for dinner, then everybody else, all the
Mm-hmm.
other kids started trickling
Exactly.
in. And so the street was empty for a while because
Mm-hmm.
everybody went in for dinner,
So let
you
me
know.
ask something. Anybody out there who's listening to watching the show right now, if you still have family dinner times, I would love to have you text us right now and let us know
Put
if you still
something in the
have. Put something in
comments.
the comments. Don't be on afraid or think
Mhm.
that there's something wrong with it. That if you still are doing it, because I don't think anyone's doing that family time or that
Some
dinner
people
time
are.
anymore. I really don't think.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's out the door. It's arcade.
Hmm. Yeah.
You being too, so black folks say you being too white like and things like that. So, I don't think
Yeah.
it, like if white folks even do it, but anyway, I don't think it really exists anymore. You eat whenever you eat food, you get food whenever you get food, and
Mhm.
that's just how it rolls.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that I have issues with.
Mm-hmm.
I still have problems with that. And
Mm-hmm.
even with just the two of us, I make sure we eat
Yeah,
together,
you do
you
make
know,
sure get me many times off of the computer.
which is needed.
and
And put
mhm.
something else in your mind, and it's a
So
connection
I'm gonna
time.
say to you, besides doing that, then when we get together to do that, I'm gonna ask that you talk more while we're doing the food instead of
I
just
certainly
eating, and then you look at me and look at the TV. Maybe
I
you talk to me a
you know
little bit
what?
more.
I
Then
certainly
that
will.
would be
It may
cool.
not be something you want to hear because I may be talking
What?
about what went on at work or something,
Yeah, it don't
or
make a difference. I
but
mean, you can
but I
find
will
something
do
more
that.
to do, but
Yes, yes.
otherwise,
I'm
that's
just
probably the reason why some people don't, do the food together thing because it
mhm.
used to be a conversation time
Yeah,
where people
exactly.
shared with one
Yeah.
another. There's a
That's
time to communicate, and the food helped to
mhm.
be part of the ambience
Yeah.
to build that rapport between one another.
Mhm.
It don't,
That's
I don't really seem to be there
that's
anymore.
when I found out about what was going on
Mm-hmm.
at school with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
when we would sit down to dinner. That's when I found out who they were hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
That's which I was that parent that would go and check on them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if I found out who they were hanging out with,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know the child, I would ask the teacher.
Mm.
What can you tell me about this
Ask
child?
yourself, you're the teacher.
Well, yeah. The thing is,
Mm-hmm.
nowadays it's like, well, you can't talk about another child.
Mm-hmm.
But I had that rapport
Mm-hmm.
with with my
Mm.
children's teachers.
Well, before we keep on going down the line, let's go right into our topic. We got
Yeah,
such
and
a
yeah,
long, but real refreshing,
Mhm.
informational, I think real help and resource for
I
healing
agree.
in a relationship when it comes to toxicity, being toxic. So, what is a toxic relationship? What is a toxic relationship? What
It's
give the basics of what a toxin
okay.
is? How's that?
A toxin is a poisonous substance that can cause illness,
Mm-hmm.
damage, or even death.
Mm-hmm.
And you say that sounds like it's just what a toxin is, but when you think about a toxin entering into a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it can cause illness,
Mm-hmm.
damage, or even death.
Oh, how much domestic violence right
Yeah.
now is actually being driven by toxicity in that
Yes.
relationship.
Yes.
And that's the results of that
Mm-hmm.
toxicity was domestic violence and someone got killed. So
Yes.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
hurt or put in the
Exactly.
hospital or,
Exactly. Yeah.
I had a coworker once whose husband broke her ankle
Mm-hmm.
just because. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a far down their piece
I know.
on the
He
body
Yeah.
form, the break ample.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
because she didn't get up at the time, when he came in,
Oh wow.
and she was sitting watching TV, had her foot up, and he kicked her in her ankle so hard he broke her ankle.
Wow.
And then she had to drive herself to the hospital.
Mm.
Yeah.
Talk about some results of toxicity
Yeah.
that is very damaging. And
Yeah.
that kind of toxicity was something that that person will probably always remember in that relationship, even as it even affected you. So a
Yeah.
toxic relationship then
Mhm.
is one that's sick. Just
Yes.
that simple. A toxic
Definitely.
relationship is one that's sick. But as
Mhm.
you mentioned the first time, toxicity, just like when you're sick, and like we had COVID. All I can say out there again, folks. I don't know if this is the second time we've been on this COVID time.
Yes.
Okay. All I can say is you don't want to get it, but if you do get it, just hope and pray that you don't have to end up in the hospital and end up passing away. But it does take a lot of energy out of
It
you.
does.
It does. I
It
feel
does.
much better than I did before,
Yeah.
from the inside and the outside. But COVID is no joke on that matter. But
This is
anyway,
like the first day I haven't had a headache
exactly.
since
In the
then.
first day, I haven't had any real vertigo. So a toxic relationship is one that's sick. But with
Mhm.
sickness, you can get well.
Absolutely.
You can get
There are
well. In
cures.
sicknesses come and go.
Mhm.
Sicknesses at the same time can go in connection to seasons.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
like
Like
in
allergy season. Yeah.
exactly, you get it more in the cold sometimes, or you get it when there's more of pollen outside.
Mhm.
So it's we're not saying whatsoever that a toxic relationship means it's in unto death in your relationship.
Yes.
No, not at all.
No.
We're just saying to you that toxicity, of course, it can easily lead to illness, damage, and
Mhm.
even death. So
Yeah.
it's sick. It just means your relationship is sick.
Yes.
And it even might, as you know, dealing with dying. While we all have our own what moments, right,
Mhm.
of seasons of selfishness, a truly toxic person will take and take and take and give nothing back in return. Again, a true toxic.
Yes.
I was going to let you finish because I said you
A
want to say something.
true, yeah, it's just as you were saying, a truly toxic person is like a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And um yeah, somebody said a mosquito is a small vampire. We love mosquitoes, but we love to get rid of them
Th-
too.
you,
But
thank you, Mr. Ellis. We do feel good. We appreciate to see you. We appreciate to see that you're listening to our show. Hopefully, you're doing some good. Also, too, hey, Mrs. Prada.
Prada too crazy.
Yes,
Nice to see you there.
yes, good to see you there too at the same time. And stay with
Yes.
us on this one. This is going to be a long one, but we see our relationships and other relationships are dealing with toxicity today. We got so much outside environment that's messing with us outside
Mhm.
of the usual for African
Yes.
Americans in COVID thing. They're just messing with our relationship toxicity. Again, it's not under death. Thank you for letting us know and saying that you had your prayers out there and your energy from the standpoint of that us getting better. We really appreciate it, don't we, Sharon?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we were going on and saying that what was you saying again?
I was just saying that it's like a really toxic person is like a vampire. They're you
Mm-hmm.
know, and sometimes, oh gosh, one came to mind. Just a good example came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you find yourself serving someone at the expense of your feelings, needs,
Mm-hmm.
and joy. They're how when you think about it, how many times have you had a friend that you say, "Hey, how you doing?" And, "Oh, my back hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't have enough money for this, that, or the other.
Hmm.
And that simple little question ends up with them
Dump it on you.
dumping on you and taking you from a joyous place to a place where you're feeling, ugh. And then you take that home.
Or they might in turn speak in such a way where you may feel guilty,
Yes,
where they
yes.
will try to transfer guilt on you,
Mm-hmm.
which is another
Yeah,
thing, or a way what's the word I want to use?
transferring.
Transferring
Mm-hmm.
guilt on you,
Yes, yes.
is another toxic thing that people do in a relationship. So you'll find you find yourself, as you said, being drained. You
Mm-hmm.
find yourself serving someone at the expense of your feelings, needs, and joy. So
Yeah,
your sign is, most of the time when you're with that person, family, friend, or a mate, is that you will probably never get them, and it will happen over and over again. You will probably never get them to say, "How are you doing?
exactly.
How are you feeling?"
And then if
and
they,
then allow you to talk about it in detail,
yeah,
and they have an actual conversation with you,
y-
the same kind of conversation that they really like to, I'm talking about the flip of the script,
uh-huh.
that they really like to have you be involved with
Yes,
them when they're talking about
yes.
their problem.
Yeah, it's like it's some of those people that you have them on the phone
Hmm.
and they can they'll just be talking and talking and talking. You can put them on mute
Mm,
and go on and deal with whatever you're dealing with for 15 or 20 minutes, and they won't even know you left
exactly.
because they're just hearing themselves drone on and on and on.
Yep,
And
yep.
sometimes you have to do that.
Because
Just
they're not really concerned about you.
yeah,
They're only concerned about themselves
yes.
dropping that toxic information on you.
And getting some kind of response
Response, well,
from
because they're
you.
trying to draw that energy from
Hmm.
you, either that
Yeah.
sympathy, either that feeling of guilt, to transfer the guilt off of them,
Yes.
anything that they can draw energy out of you so
Hmm.
that they can
Hmm.
feel alive or feel better about
Or
themselves.
get some compensation for something that they have been dealing with.
Oh yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
like yeah, those are some of the things that are really um really kind of difficult to deal with. It's like the other side to that is when you take into consideration the friend that we have with cancer.
Hmm.
See her every day. Ask her, how you feeling? Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. She is not the type of person when she says, I'm not feeling too well today. She's really not feeling that well that day
Exactly,
because she
exactly.
is not going to drone on and on and on. Yet she gives all of herself to the kids that she comes in contact with.
Thank you, Mr. Mike Kelly. I'm practicing. I'm glad to see that you're practicing some of the stuff that we preach as part of our mission. We really appreciate that you're actually putting this into practice.
Yeah.
Though I do remember one great preacher that I used to hang around with. Yeah, I did hang around a preacher when I was younger, and he used to march with Martin Luther King. And then he told me, sometimes, Craig, you got to take information and put it in the deep freezer, because one day you have to pull it out. So I'm glad that you're using it, but for
And we're glad
others,
it's working.
put it in your deep freezer. And we also want to say too, if you have a group, a club, or a church that you would like us to come and share our topic that you're very fond of, like the hot topics that we talk about,
Bridge
we would
statements.
love to come to your
Yeah.
group or your club or your church and share that information, and so that they can get that same information that you're getting to, so it can be passed on longer. Sometimes you may not be able to interpret it, or may not be able to actually say it just as well as we do, but that's all right. We can help you out, and we can be there to be that representative, so
Yeah.
they can get the information straight from the horse. I mean, excuse me, straight from our mouths, from that end. So back to our conversation. And we don't
Yeah.
want to we don't want to get it wrong. Service and sacrifice are part of a good relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are always challenged.
Hmm.
Disagreements,
Yeah.
forgiveness, and discomfort is in a
Yeah.
relationship.
And the thing with that is our partners, our mates, our husbands, our wives, our whatever the dynamics are of the relationship that we're in that is committed.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when we need to say something to them
Mm-hmm.
about how we're feeling. And it may not be good,
Mm-hmm.
but don't leave it in a toxic state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you come home and you dump. The boss did this and said that, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a horrible day today, and blah 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 blah. But once you get it off, get it off of your chest and everything, what I need to learn to do is go on and say thank you for listening, and I apologize that I had to dump on you like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how was your day? What was
Exactly.
going on good for you today?
Exactly. But a healthy relationship is mutually life giving. Notice
Yes,
the word mutual,
mutually. Hmm.
balance between
Yes.
the two.
Yeah.
A toxic relationship is one person is dumping all the time to try to get a rise or try to
Hmm.
get energy out of you, like what they call a psychic vampire.
Yeah.
They themselves cannot derive the needed health and healthiness for their
Hmm.
own self.
Yeah.
They want to get that from you.
Yeah.
Some people will say in some particular situations they need a captain savior.
Yes.
Another situation called a captain saver, but I won't say the word.
Please don't.
But they do. And then there's some guys who are looking for the gals to or the women to be their sugar mama, be the mom that they didn't
Yeah.
get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Save me. Treat me like my mother didn't treat me.
Mm-hmm.
My mother didn't like me, so
Mm-hmm.
you need to like me.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
we got a completely different relationship than that.
Yeah.
But then there are those people who just want to bring you to the point where they are. They're not happy people. They're not
Mm-hmm.
fun-loving people.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in depression, and a lot of people live in depression and they don't realize that they are in that depressed state. They don't want to know they're living in denial. But what they'll do is they can't deal with your joy and your uplift, and so
Mm-hmm.
they try to bring you down to where they are.
Especially if they have been using you as a toxic person would,
Hmm.
who again we call like a vampire, or there's another word, they're like a parasite. They're
Yes.
losing you to live off of, so
Hmm.
that when you either catch on to it or you're really tired of it or you're exhausted,
Or you're not feeling
feeling it.
feeling that
Exactly.
great yourself.
So they're going to then get upset. That's right. That person who many times was feeling like they had no life, feeling like they were,
Hmm.
very sad, felt like they're very depressed. Once you begin to then give the perception and words of action that you don't want to deal with this anymore, you
Hmm.
don't have to deal with this anymore, then all of a sudden this energy of anger, this energy of resentment comes out of
Yes.
nowhere before
Yes.
they never even had that.
Yes.
That usually gives you a key. This person has been really a toxic person in your
Hmm.
life. Because if they weren't being a toxic person, once you start saying that you have some uncomfortableness, you are not feeling good,
Yeah.
they would be able to sense that immediately and put their feelings down or in the back
Aside.
seat or to a side and start relating to you
Yeah.
and start trying to get back to you what you're giving to
Yeah.
them. But most of the time, it won't happen
Right.
if you're in a toxic relationship. People with
Exactly.
toxicity, it won't.
Exactly.
It won't.
And that's one of those places that it's hard to know what to do with. Most people talk about toxic relationships in the context of romance.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that any relationship can become toxic, including relationships with coworkers, in-laws, parents, siblings, friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we just called it toxic relationships, simply because all of those things, those coworkers, those in-laws,
Mm-hmm.
how they treat you, how they treat your partner, all of that, it has a bearing on your relationship.
It can affect your relationship. That's
Exactly.
the outside one
Yes.
that can bleed into
Mhm.
your relationship, because our concentration is on your relationship, our relationship, and it's staying healthy and it's staying in a thriving, balanced relationship. So
Mhm.
the challenge in sacrifices in a balanced, healthy relationship is an ebb and flow towards connection and love. Again, the challenges and sacrifices
Mhm.
in a balance, in a healthy
Anytime.
relationship has a lot of ebb and flow, but
Mhm.
it's toward the connection of what? Of love.
Love. Absolutely.
That's what
right.
you're trying to connect to. We ain't going to always agree. We're not
Nope.
going to always feel it. But at the end, what we're trying to do is to display, to express to each other the best way we can. Sometimes it might be the next day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that
Yeah.
well, hey,
Because
hey, we
sometimes
really
you do need to sleep on it.
exactly, yeah,
You
exactly.
need to say, not now.
Yeah.
And you've got to
Hold
respect
on.
that
Did
other
you do that
person.
sister girl hand at me? Is that what you just did?
Talk to the hand. You know what? I
Wow.
I
Okay.
always thought that was crazy, but but I just in talking with my hands,
Mm-hmm.
quite often I
So
will
do it
go,
again. There you go.
yeah, and that means you're in agreement.
Five,
Not now.
$5 long. Anyway, um, I think I think
See,
I'd be
he
funny.
is feeling better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think at the end, just like we talked about with bridge statements,
Hmm.
it all has to do with we feel like we ought to be together.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yes.
feel that there's a purpose and a reason why.
Hmm.
And if you want to bring your spirituality in, which you should, we feel like God or the answers has called us together.
Right.
And that's an authentic belief that we both believe, not
Hmm.
just one, that we both believe.
Yes, that has to
So
be a shared
exactly.
understanding.
Yeah, it needs to be.
Yes.
If not, you need to work on to make it that direction.
Yes,
Otherwise,
or
you're
it's not
wasting
gonna
time.
work.
No, you're burning rubber.
Yeah.
You're burning rubber from that end. And no doubt about it, toxicity will live fresh in your
Oh yeah.
relationship from that
Every
particular.
day. Every
Exactly.
day.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and by the way, most people talk about toxic relationships and in the context of romance, but the reality is that any relationship can become toxic,
Hmm.
including relationship with coworker. Oh, you just got through saying
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but it goes. It's one of those things that you can't say enough,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a lot of those areas are protected areas.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to things like in-laws. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's my family,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna
My mama
protect.
goes first.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
daddy goes first.
I'm
My
I'm
sister
I'm
goes
gonna
first.
protect my family.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk about my family like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Just you know they love you not as much as me, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll grow on them.
Or if they
No,
or if
don't
they
do
if
that.
they or if they don't love you, don't worry about it because I really care.
Exactly.
And that part almost edges into how it should be, no
Mm-hmm.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
But usually, what happens is the person that says that usually they say that because of the fact that that means when their family is around, they ain't got to be loving to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can be toxic
Exactly.
because they
Exactly.
figure their family's more important than you.
Right. But then see, you understand,
Mm-hmm.
as time goes on, you understand the dynamics of that family situation,
Mm-hmm.
and you can start learning which ones are toxic within themselves,
Yes.
and kind of steer clear of
Mm-hmm.
them. And get a feel for who you want to associate with and who you don't,
Mm-hmm.
even at family reunions.
Yeah.
At family reunions, you don't have to hobnob with everybody and rub elbows and
Mm-hmm.
be
The s-
Aunt Sally's
the
favorite
the
niece or
social
nephew.
socialite, social
Exactly.
butterflies, they say.
Exactly. You can find your spot.
Mm-hmm.
You can deal with who you want to deal with,
Mm-hmm. And that's it.
and that's it.
And that's
And you because
if you got to go home early, I remember many times because my family's not close in the first of all on the
mhm,
mom and dad's side, but many of the political kind of action meetings and stuff that I go to, I know that when they start getting off topic and they start getting into that hobnob kind of gossip thing, you know
mhm,
what I would do?
leave.
I just leave.
Yeah.
I get up,
Yeah.
even if I'm in the sitting position, I'll just get up and leave. Now, many times later on, they come and ask me, "Well, Mr. Butts, why did you do that? Did you think this and that way?" I'm going, "No, I didn't really get into the topic you were talking about, and because you
Mhm.
didn't, and to me, the meeting was over. I just left."
Yeah.
Or sometimes while the meeting's going on, and they will get into something like that, I'll get up, leave, go out for a little bit,
Mhm.
come back, see if they're getting
Yeah.
back on topic, and then I'll come back in
Yeah.
from that end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been at professional parties,
Mm-hmm.
from the job and whatnot. We
Okay,
used to
help
have a
us
lot.
out with your professional party.
Well,
I've been to a lot of parties, and
well,
I thought they were professional.
no, well, they
What's a
didn't. They
professional?
didn't end up.
Not the ones in the basement.
No,
They were not
well,
professional
actually,
parties.
was kind of in the basement. But
Okay.
no, what when I say professional parties, I
Mm.
mean they are. We
Doctors
don't
and
have
lawyers
office. We
and
don't have
snobbies.
office parties as
Uh-huh.
educators, but
Uh-huh.
we have like Christmas parties
Oh
and
yeah.
things of that sort. For
Never went to them.
I
Tried to avoid them
Oh
all.
no, see, I'm kind of social that way,
Yeah, I
and so
know.
I go to them. I'd have a good time, but I would
Mm-hmm.
always know when it was time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I would go to the person who was either on the planning committee
Mm-hmm.
or who was, if it was at somebody's house, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes towards the end, we started having them at um, the principal's house,
Mm-hmm.
and and it because we were really a close um, staff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, I would go to him and his wife, and I would say, "Thank you for having this," and but it's time to go. At that point, it was probably because there was too much alcohol rolling around,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to. That was not a situation that was comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no problem with leaving. The people that I would mainly talk with, if they were leaving, I'm
Mm.
leaving too. It's
So
like,
the main point you're saying here is when you start to feel too much toxicity
hmm
starting to build, you said, I gotta go. Either move to
yes,
someone else,
yes,
move to a corner, or take off because you could feel there's just too much toxicity
exactly.
in the air and the
hmm
atmosphere that's going
Yes.
on.
The,
Okay.
the the thing that I'm trying to say is
Hmm.
you don't have to own somebody else's toxicity.
That's very, very cool. I love that. That was very good. You said it so good. Even I was scared. I was shaking and go, aha. I had the hair moving on my
Ooh.
arm. Wow. A healthy relationship is a safe relationship. I'll say it again. A healthy relationship is a safe relationship, a relationship where you can be yourself, authentic without fear, a place where you feel comfortable and secure. A toxic relationship, on the other hand, is not a safe
No,
place. It
not.
doesn't make you feel like you can be authentic. That other person is always taking from
hmm
you, not
Yes.
wanting to hear things from you. A toxic relationship is characterized by insecurity,
hmm
self-centeredness, dominance, and control. I always
Yeah.
use the word control, meaning because there's always control in a relationship,
hmm
but we're talking about having that direct control that's only one way, and you get no input back in that
Right.
person
Right.
and influencing them
Yes.
whatsoever, really.
That's the my way or the highway syndrome.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. There are a lot
Yes.
of people that way too. A lot.
Yeah.
So let's get right into the main important thing is, and I think that's important because we got so many different paths that we're going to go. But this is the main important. This is the root of all of us. What all of this,
hmm
not all of us. Okay,
Yes.
all of
All of
this.
mhm.
The cause of toxicity. Anyone out there that's listening whatsoever, what would you like to say? Put it up there, no right or wrong. Type in there real quickly. What do you think the cause of toxicity is? What do you think the fundamental cause of toxicity? Because I think this is the most important
It
thing
is.
for you to understand
Mm-hmm.
as we understand what is the roots, what is the basis, what is the foundation, where does toxicity come from? If you think or have any idea, please put it up in the comments. And we're going to wait for a second.
As
And
as we keep it rolling here,
yep, yep.
because we talk about toxicity, but we don't necessarily um we don't necessarily know what to do about it. We all can recognize toxicity, but that does not necessarily mean that we see ourselves as toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest hurdles that we have to get over, is the fact that we have to go on and say, okay, yeah, I'm a toxic individual. And
Ew.
yeah,
No, I don't want to say that.
no,
I
because
don't want to say I'm a
because
toxic individual.
nobody does. But the
No.
reality is you are a toxic individual if that's the case, and you need to go ahead and accept it so you can do something about it.
Well, you're not going to be able to accept it unless you know. And now we're going to let you know since we have no one up there to say anything. And that's all right because there's no stupid questions from that end and any
Or
statements. But it
answers.
sounds like people want to learn and take this with you.
hmm
Write this down, put it in your notes, take it with you, tell other people too. Because I'm saying too, when we give you this information, you're going to go, aha,
Yeah.
yes. And
hmm
hopefully, you'll give you an aha moment and you catch it. Okay. The cause of toxicity fundamentally in a relationship is the behavior as the result of the lack of empathy. You want to say that again, sir?
Yes. Fundamentally, the cause of toxicity is a result of behaviors from a person who lacks empathy.
That's right.
Empathy is one of those things that we have a hard time dealing with. We can say, Oh, I can sympathize with you, but when it comes time to empathizing, we don't know.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
And folks, there is a difference between compassion and
Hmm.
empathy. A lot of us think that empathy is the same thing as compassion. It is not the same.
No.
But know this: toxicity fundamentally comes from the behaviors which are the result of the, again, behaviors that are the result of the lack of empathy.
Hmm.
Empathy.
Yes.
So let's talk about what empathy is, because it's not really compassion. And once we talk about what empathy is, you then can understand why it's different from compassion.
Hmm. Yes. I I looked up empathy,
Mm-hmm.
and just to get a working definition of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And it says it's the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. But then I found another example of that defined empathy. And to me, it was just like an aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
It says empathy is like a pair of glasses that you put on to see the world through someone else's eyes, to see the world through somebody else's eyes in these glasses. That to me says that it puts empathy where anybody can reach it, because we all wear glasses, whether it's prescription or sunglasses or contact lenses or whatever, that helps us to see things clearly. When my husband was sick uh, the other week, I did not have it as bad as he did, but I could empathize with him. I could empathize with him because I could remember there was a time years ago when I had the flu and I had this extremely high temperature, and I knew how it made me feel. And empathizing with him through that, I wanted just to make him comfortable. No matter what else, I wanted him to be comfortable. I wanted him to sleep. I wanted him to rest because I knew that's what helped me.
Exactly.
But that was because I could put those glasses on and I could see his world through those glasses.
And we're going to take it one step further, because you did that through the glasses of your experience.
Yes.
Yet empathy is the level where, as that Native American kind of saying is, that you could know somebody else by walking in the what?
Shoes.
They would say moccasins of
Hmm.
the shoes.
Yeah.
So this case, this is not you having no shoes at all,
Right.
but
Right.
taking the choice to walk in those shoes.
Hmm.
So we're not going to necessarily have the same experience
Exactly.
that someone else has had whatsoever,
Hmm.
to then use it to try to connect with them.
Right.
Empathy is all about trying to know that person's feelings and
Yes.
thoughts, or what they think and what
Yes.
they feel and what they have experienced in
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
and then cater to it. And
Yes.
then again, I'll say it again, and then cater to it. And that way, when you share and connect to someone in such a way of how they see it, how they feel it, then they can actually feel you understand them. It's kind
Hmm.
of the same way that I used to hear when I was in the customer service world as an IT grad. One of the things that we learned, well, was one thing called communication. Another one was talk about connection. Another one
Hmm.
I forgot was compassion. And they always would say, you should repeat back to that customer
Yes.
what they in turn feel is the problem.
Hmm.
By doing that, that customer feels that you really understand what their problem is,
Yes.
because you repeated it back. So
Right.
we're just talking about the same thing in a relationship. Empathy is about whether you felt it, whether you experienced it before. You want to see things from your mate's point of view,
Right.
someone else's point of view. That's what empathy is.
Hmm.
Back to that Native American saying, to walk in someone else's moccasins, to walk in someone else's shoes. And I think that's the important thing that we can find out here. Toxicity is usually a action, a thought, or a feeling where a person has no idea, no want, or no care
No
to
desire.
know or desire to want to know how
Hmm.
you feel about things in
Exactly.
life, how you feel about things. But let's
It's
start
not
real quickly.
important.
We talked to you about in the past in your relationship, in a other women's relationship, just as some men's relationship,
Mhm.
they were not trying to understand how their mate is feeling.
Right.
They're not understanding what their man is feeling. They're not trying to understand what that woman's feeling. The
Mhm.
only thing they're concerned about is how they feel, and they
Yes.
want that person to cater to how they feel, and
Mhm.
they're not trying to even think about what that other person's feeling. And when you even mention to them about what empathy is, it becomes almost, if they're open, an aha moment. And they can
Yes.
say to themselves, I've been in a relationship all this time. I really never thought about how that other person felt from their
Mhm.
point of view.
Yes.
Again, from
Yes.
their point of view. I was always only thinking about from my point of view. And even though I did nice things, even though I didn't cuss at them, even though I never physically did anything to them,
Mhm.
I still didn't know how they felt about things in
Right.
life. In later on, you find out that in the relationship world, it's all about trying to find out someone's love language.
Exactly.
Each one of us has our own love language. The things that are said or we like to have said or done that will make
Mhm.
us feel like we are loved.
Yes.
And without that, knowing that, then we feel that we're not loved. And that person who is trying to connect to you in their own way, they are maybe doing things that are nothing but
Mhm.
toxic to the
Right.
individual because
Right.
they don't feel no love in that
Right.
connection, you know?
Exactly. And one of the ways that we do this is, you remember the couple that we were coaching in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting to a point where it was, well, he doesn't do this and she doesn't do that, and I don't like this and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got to the point where we said, okay, these are the two issues that you're having. It's time for some role reversal.
Mm-hmm.
And so between our sessions, we had them take on each other's role and play it out. And you remember how it really helped them understand where the other one was coming from. When they did that, they had to actually put themselves seriously
Mm-hmm.
in each other's positions in trying to run a business, run a household, deal with the
Mm-hmm.
family, the children and all of that. Um, they had to, and through that they realized that they needed to define their roles because they were overlapping and running all over the place. And so when they began to empathize with what the other was going through, it really changed some things for them.
A healthy relationship, a thriving relationship is all about you wanting to share you. And if the other person has that same feeling, they're all about trying to share themselves to you. If that other person doesn't have the same experiences, doesn't have the same kind of commonality as you, then you have to then take that next approach in that relationship, which is the ability to then say, I will be empathetic. And my empathetic is all about trying to find out who you are.
Hmm.
What is that you feel? What does that make you feel loved? What is that the things that I can do to make you feel good in this relationship? Or what they say, what is your love language? Because certainly if you're in that relationship and you are about trying to connect with that other individual, you certainly want them to do that back in return.
Exactly.
You certainly do.
Yeah.
And when they do, you feel like they're what? You're loved. You're special in a relationship. And a toxic
That you
relationship,
have a purpose.
exactly.
Yeah.
And a toxic relationship, that is not a concern of theirs.
No.
They're only concerned about you making them feel they're loved
Hmm.
at all costs, at all times,
Yes.
and they really have no intentions of wanting to share that back in
Right.
return. And there is no ebb and flow.
No.
There is no
No.
seasons. They are this, that way all the time.
Right.
And they'll always will lead a conversation that comes back to
To
them
them.
every time,
Hmm.
all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 And that weighs on you physically,
Mm-hmm.
mentally, emotionally. A lot of people put on weight.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Drinking,
the drinking,
carousing with other women, other men.
exactly.
I ain't coming home. I got
Health
to hear a problem.
health problems.
Mm-hmm.
Blood pressure goes up,
Mm-hmm.
ulcers, things like that, because you're carrying not only your baggage,
Mm-hmm.
but you're carrying that toxicity that is being dumped on you also
Mm-hmm.
without an outlet. But we're getting close to the end of tonight.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Whether that it be demanding your partner to live up to your expectation or refusing to see things from their perspective, toxic behavior often represents an inability for you to feel genuinely understanding, and compassionate for that other particular person. And a lot of us are in a relationship. We could tell this person doesn't genuinely have any compassion
Mm-hmm.
towards us. We
Yes.
just know it. We could feel it.
Yes.
They really don't at all. They may sometimes come up with something. They might even use buying a item,
Yes.
but yet they are still acting business as usual
Mhm.
because they're doing that to try to get you to be more compassionate and empathy towards them.
Yes.
It ain't really the other way around
Right,
at all.
right.
No, not at all. Well, it's at 6:57. We know that our engineer is probably telling us to come off. We're glad to see that we're back again. I hope you're glad to see that we're back again. We feel for you. Hopefully you feel for us, and that you're getting some good information to pass on to yourself. Bring in your relationship so it could be taking the journey together and expand, and you can be more healthy and balanced. Take it away, Mr. Engineer. Thank you. God bless and peace.
Till next week.
I like that.